From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your closing bell for Monday, March 25th, 2024. A week from now, it will be April 1st. April Fool's Day. It's no joke. It will be April 1st. So holy cow, how March has flown. The madness has been going crazy since Thursday at 12:15. But we all survived. I'm here. Riley's backstage as we get ready to go and to do a recap today. The actual market today is not the greatest. We have some NBA games, 2 NHL games. Got the CIB. I'm actually going to probably be watching some women's basketball tonight. UConn plays tonight. So that's probably where my eyes will be. But first, let's talk about our proud sponsor and partnership with WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please run on over to Google Play, wherever you download the apps. It's free. Start taking responsibility towards your actions on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it today. There was, I guess, ESPN bets with Reese Davis, and I think it was Aaron Dolan. Something going on back and forth there about whatever. So we're here to educate with a little entertainment. But myself, Riley, and the rest of our team and WagerWire, we want you to take this seriously. We want to start making you some money. And that's what the app's all about. And moving forward, we'll be doing a lot more work with their charts and graphs. So please download the app. And if you're looking for a little flash cash and want to join the team, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Travis, Zach, the rest of the team, the community, they are awesome. We'll take good care of you there. So without further ado, let's bring in my co-host, Mr. SouthSide Riley himself. What is up, Riley? You survived.
What is up, my friend? Yes, I did. I am, decompressing from a long weekend of, nonstop basketball action. It was a fun weekend. Obviously there's some people who are wanting some, some of the blowouts to be closer games, obviously, but a good weekend nonetheless. I mean, there were some great finishes. There were a few blowouts, obviously, where some teams flex their muscles, especially early in the day yesterday. But nonetheless, I mean, it was a great 4 days of action. There's a lot of teams that, made it through and survived in advance. Obviously, there's a few rough blown covers in overtime where some dogs went to die and failed to cover, even though they had 6-7 point spread. But nonetheless, I know, obviously, if you were you and I were talking, if you were a favorite bettor all weekend, you're probably feeling pretty good today. If you're a dog bettor, you're probably not feeling good today. So whether or not that changes this upcoming week is to be seen. Obviously, not as big of a spread discrepancy between each game as there were in some of these games, but should be obviously a fun day of recapping here on our show, and then as we lead into Thursday, some great games. You and I were talking. The one silver lining to not really having these, true Cinderella stories like we occasionally have is that we've got 8 good to great games on Thursday and Friday, and probably leading into some great games also Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to be an awesome weekend of high competitive basketball where, a lot of different matchups can go a lot of different ways. Some interesting matchups to be seen on Saturday and Sunday based off of that. So I am really excited to get going. Maybe a nice day of recovery, but I'm sad that I have to wait 3 more days for all you can eat basketball again. But aside from that, obviously got baseball coming up. You mentioned SouthSide Riley. Not as gregarious as I've been in the past couple of years. Obviously not. Last year I wasn't the most optimistic, but a significantly less gregarious Southside Riley as far as the MLB is concerned these days. And obviously you and I haven't had to talk about the other major league story that's been happening.
It's coming. It's coming
as of late. But aside from that, excited to recap. And like you said, nothing too crazy going on. Big slate of NBA, but we'll touch on it for a second. But probably not any groundbreaking locks of the day, if you will, in the NBA slate, my friends.
Shout out to Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. Always glad to see you, sir. Thank you so much for all your trust and support. The dogs weren't barking. They were muzzled and muzzled tight. For all favorite bettors, the favorites on Saturday and Sunday, there were 16 games, went 15-1 straight up. The only underdog that won outright was Clemson. And they went 14-2 against the spread. Now, they had some overtime, some double overtime. They had some luck to get there. But the only team that covered the spread was Texas A&M, who took Houston to OT and lost but covered. In these tournaments, we expect crazy, wacky stuff. It happened on Thursday and Friday. Kentucky, Auburn, all lost. There was our 2 futures that went down in flames. We obviously early in the season had a UConn and a Purdue, so we're still sitting in the catbird seat. I talked about getting your future tickets and checking to see what their odds were to make it to the Final Four. Had a good friend. He got him UConn to make the Final Four at, I don't know, plus 120 at one point. Now UConn is now just plus 200 to win the whole thing. And again, the cream rose to the top. There is some absolute madness coming up on Thursday in TD Garden, Boston, about 45 minutes north of where I am on Cape Cod. Currently, as we sit, Illinois is a 2-point dog to Iowa State with a 145 and a hook under over. And UConn, this is a rematch of the national championship game last year, opened at 8.5, now 11-point favorites against San Diego State and the Aztecs, a 136 there. Alabama, 4-point favorites over, North Carolina, 4-point favorites over Alabama. Arizona, 7-point favorites over Clemson. And then on Friday, Purdue, Big Ten territory, 5.5 over Gonzaga. Probably the best game on the weekend here. Tennessee, 3-point favorites over Creighton. That's going to be a fun one. Marquette, 6.5 over NC State. And here will be another fan favorite. Houston now, 4-point favorites over Duke. What you saw over the weekend, Big Ten, again, you got Illinois standing. You got Purdue standing, and
I believe that is it for what we've got standing in the Big Ten. Yeah, that is it. Had Northwestern up ran into a buzzsaw, obviously. Nebraska, Nebraska was a team that a lot of people liked. I was sad that they ran into Texas A&M. Texas A&M was a team that probably was better than whatever it was, 8 or 9 seed that they were. And I was a believer in Texas A&M. So I was sad to see, at least all throughout the season. So I was torn on that one the other day. So I was sad to see Nebraska go out the way they did. I thought they were going to at least put up a good fight in the tournament. Wisconsin, obviously, you and I talked all season long about this being a huge season for Greg Gard. I talked about it Friday and Saturday when I had the chance on the shows that I did. I think he's bought himself another year of not really being on the hot seat, but if you go into next year and you lose again in the first round of the tournament, let alone the first weekend, then you're kind of right back on that hot seat again. So and you might even be a little bit next year, but after the season that they had, I think that bought himself some time. But obviously a piss poor performance to say the least, especially when you come from and that's really been the biggest difference. Aside from maybe year-to-year success from Bo Ryan to Greg Gard, is those type of teams that were 5-6 seeds in the tournament would rarely lose in the first round. They would, if they did, they would go out with a fantastic fight. And they would find themselves, with a second day upset oftentimes. So that has been the biggest thing, biggest difference with Greg Gard now. And obviously, I think that would be a very good case of the grass might not be greener if you move on from Greg Gard. But again, what he did for the majority of the regular season, I think bought himself another season for sure here without really having too much noise. But obviously, that was a poor performance. And then let's see, Northwestern, great finish against FAU in the first round, like we were talking about. And then I'm drawing a blank. I feel like there's one more, but let me see if I can pull them up here.
Michigan State?
Yeah, Michigan State. That's right. Obviously, great first-day performance. And then not so much, obviously, against the second half of UNC. Hubert Davis kind of questioned, how badly UNC wants it. And from that point on, UNC looks like a true national title contender. So, curious to see who's coming back from Michigan State next year. Obviously, if you get a lot of returning guys that stick around, then they could be good again. But kind of a transition, not transition spot, but kind of look yourself in the mirror spot for Michigan State of the current state that college basketball is. Obviously, they're not going to move on from Tom Izzo, but the success these last few years has had a couple bad breaks, obviously, but may need to tweak some things and adjust a little bit on the fly here for Michigan State to become that mainstay in the second weekend again, because obviously recently it hasn't quite been that, same luster that we had for 20 years or so. So, and then obviously Illinois is the last one, kind of played with their food a little bit in the first half against Morehead State and then looked fantastic. Looked very good against Duquesne. Kind of dodged a bullet against a BYU team that was supposed to be seeded higher and would have been potentially a tough matchup for Illinois with the size that BYU can bring at a lot of their wing spots there. So I was, as a Big Ten guy, Illinois guy, was happy to kind of dodge that potential bullet. Wouldn't have been necessarily afraid of them. You understand what I'm saying, but got the better of that second round matchup for sure there. And believe it or not, that's the first time they made it to the Sweet 16, Illinois, since the 2005 team that went all the way to the championship. So great situation there to get over that hump. It's kind of surprising that Underwood hasn't had one of these teams these last few years get past the first weekend, whether it be some bad draws or whatnot. Obviously, if you're a good enough team, you shouldn't have those issues anyways. But obviously, very happy to have them advancing through the second weekend here. And as you and I were talking off stage, going to have a great chance in both of these potential games this weekend. If obviously they can get through this first one, could be going to be a tough matchup. They're obviously dogs in this game against Iowa State, but it should be a great matchup. To take the words out of your mouth, you said it. If they can control the pace and be the team that's inhabiting their style of play on Iowa State as opposed to the opposite there, then they're going to have a great chance of winning this game. For their sake, hopefully Iowa State doesn't have much of an answer for their studs for Illinois there. So Illinois is a team that is this kind of 3-4 seed that we typically see as a dark horse that I think is primed to potentially make a run there. So causes a lot of problems for a lot of teams that are still left in this tournament. So still a lot of faith in Illinois land over here that we can make some. A couple upsets happen there, and if you get to the Final Four and get through UConn potentially, then you never know what can happen after that. And obviously, they would love another shot at Purdue after the couple of games that they had with them this year. So I'm excited for it, at least for the Big Ten. That's off the top of my 5-minute, 10-minute spiel. That's all that I can pull off my real quick there.
No, and it was a great breakdown. I didn't even bring. I talked about Kentucky and Auburn losing it. I wanted to bring up Coach Cal. The talk on the Coach Cal front for Kentucky is it's not working, meaning your team's too young. And in other words, you used to bring in the stars and the one and done. Here's where you came to play a year and then go to the NBA, get a high lottery pick and make all your money. That's what Coach Cal was doing. Well, with the NIL, with the transfer portal, now it's Coach Cal can't get the team to a certain point during the tournament to compete with, quote unquote, the older teams, meaning his kids are 18, 19, maybe 20 years old, and they turn around. There's a 24-year-old, there's a 25-year-old. So they're not old enough. And I'll just say, hey, Coach Cal, the kid that drained 10 3-pointers on you, not 1, not 2, not 5, not 7, but 10 3-pointers on you. I think took 6 2-point shots all year. So what the hell do you expect him to do? And then you let a kid get hot, and it's the dog theory. Let a dog hang around long enough. Now they think they belong, and now you're in for it. And so as much as Coach Cal's trying to spin it on the kids, we were too young, and this is the coaching theory that he has done for a long, long time. He got a championship at Kentucky, but my point is Kentucky's square peg round hole. They owe him $33 million next year. It's not like they can fire him and pay him, because as soon as they fired him, probably Louisville would pick up the phone again and say, hey, we got a vacancy right over here if you'd like to come across the river and come coach us. And he would be over in Louisville in 2 seconds. So I'm going to circle back to the Big Ten. Listen, I love Coach Izzo. I loved him back in the day. I loved him with Mateen Cleaves. I love everything about him. But again, I personally think outside looking in with the nil, and I don't know how they do in the nil, and I assume they raise pretty good damn money, but I don't think he's getting the stars to compete. Now, I know Zach came back. I know Purdue's been a wagon. Next year will be a different story. But I'm not seeing the flash. I'm not seeing everyone run into the window to play for Coach Izzo. Am I wrong saying that?
No, you're not wrong. They don't have that. They used to have a really nice mixture of getting whether it's some stars, and then you'd have the guys that would stay for 4 or 5 years, whether they were college stars or not. They just haven't had that same mix, and they haven't had that 1 star, 1 or 2 stars that really, at least once he gets on campus, elevates into that. So no, it's something. Again, I don't think they'll move on from him, but he's in both cases. I think they're different cases completely, but. We've seen another, whether it's college basketball, college football, some of these older coaches that have had success in the past be so rigid to changing and doing something different, and it all ends up hurting them. That's in contrast. You look at going over to college football, again, Nick Saban, who was able to change his ways a little bit and do things differently. Going back to college basketball, Coach K, before he retired, because of what Coach Cal did, had to change his ways for a few years, brought in that team that had Zion and whatnot. Obviously, that team didn't win, but you understand what I'm saying. He was at least accepting of some type of change before he left, and it doesn't seem like Coach Cal is interested in doing anything like that. Again, as you said, if they get rid of him, he's got a place in college basketball, just probably not in the same sense, at least on a consistency basis that he used to. And as long as we're talking about coaches, the only one that I'll add to this, that his job is completely safe, but he said the quiet part out loud, and I can't believe it wasn't as big of a story as it was because they didn't have as bad of a loss. Obviously, it was the second round against Gonzaga team. Bill Self admitting that he's looking forward to for the last month he's been looking at next year. You're not supposed to say that part out loud, pal. There's other ways to say that and be sad that your team was banged up. Just saying that you did it, you were not expecting much or looking forward to next year. I mean, obviously every coach is always looking. That's the insanity part about that job, is that you have to be looking towards next year before this year's even over, but you don't have to say that part out loud after you just lost in your first press conference after that tournament game. You don't have to say that part out loud.
No, not at all. And again, we will be talking all week. I'm not sure if we will have a closing bell tomorrow night. I will be out of the office, and I know Riley not available, but I will make sure on Wednesday, me and Riley will be here, and sometime on Thursday to break these games down. And again, 4 on Thursday from the Garden, TD Garden, that is, and then 4 on Friday, and then the Elite 8 Saturday and Sunday, Final 4 in Glendale, Arizona there. So we will get to those. All right, I will break this, and everyone here, and we got 1 million people here. I can't thank you enough. Anyone new to East Coast Sports Investors, new to myself, new to Riley, do us a big, huge favor right now. Jump on over to YouTube to East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. That's all I ask, is free. And if you're on social media and the Wager Wire guys, the team, the community is so amazing. Tweet, retweet, like, tell your friends here, because we got some big, big stuff brewing, and I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. When it's time, it's time. Travis will be on live with us Wednesday morning. He always does the breaking news here. I don't think we got breaking news, but you never know with Travis and Zach there. I got to talk showy here, guys. Now, I was born at night, not last night, okay? I will just say this, and this is my theory. This is my thoughts because I've been involved North End in Boston, Federal Hill in Rhode Island. I kind of know how the game is played. Let's just leave it there. And I've been involved. My first wager I ever made was in 1975, Red Sox and Reds. I was in 5th grade, World Series. I worked for services in the late 80s, early 90s, before cell phones, before the internet. My sources was 5 newspapers, 6 on Friday, including the National. Took some time off. Then I've been doing this since January 1st, 2015. That's 9 years we've been public. I am very well connected in Vegas. I have a lot of good friends in big cities, if you understand what I'm saying. So here's my take on the Shohei Ohtani thing. California is not a legal state. You can't wake up, put your smartphone on, and press an app and place a wager. You have a book in California that has already been pinched by the feds. Okay? But now they're back in action. Wow, that's surprising, huh? And they're taking $4.5 million worth of action, which any barbershop, any local tavern in your town or city, 99.9% of them can't take that kind of action. Shohei Ohtani is the face of baseball. He is our Babe Ruth. He is Godzilla, and the LA Dodgers have invested a boatload of money in him. And we know Dodgers have endless cash here. But we're talking about the feds. We're probably talking about the IRS. And here's my point, guys. A sports book that has taken $4.5 million from Shohei Ohtani in the state of California. Do you think if the feds, the IRS, and whoever else is involved in this, if Shohei Ohtani's name's in there, and we're talking California, do you know how many other big athletes, movie stars, business owners' names are in there? Think about that for a second. It's not being talked about in social media. It's Shohei. Oh, he's Pete Rose. We're going to get him. If Shohei Ohtani's name is in there, you try to tell me every athlete in California that can't place a wager, they know where to go. Every movie star, every big-time restaurant owner, business owner. This is a book that if they open it up as Pandora's box, the whole world could end.
And the timing of this is interesting because I know you talked about it. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or if it was in your ECSI email or not. As far as just not enough coverage going on about it. The timing of it with March Madness is absurd. I mean, people like me took a couple days to actually realize what the hell was going on because the average sports fan is so enthralled with March Madness. I mean, unless you're a diehard baseball fan. I'm a big baseball fan. Obviously, in my case, I'm a little not as excited this year as many because my team is down in the dumps. But nonetheless, the average sports fan, I think there's still a lot of people that don't understand what's going on with this. And obviously, there's there's still to be some, I'm sure, that's going to come out that they're going to put out, whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But I think there's a lot of people, massive sports fans, that still, because of everything that's been going on this last week in the world of sports, have no idea really what's going on with this because it hasn't had the coverage and because they've been paying attention to other things. So that was one thing that had me scratching my head as far as of all times for this to come out. You're putting this out. I don't remember exactly when the news first broke, but. When the 90% of the sports world is going to be in front of their TV, 4 TVs, watching college basketball for 4 straight days, that part was a little suspect to me.
And I will say this. Yes, I was in Tennessee Chattanooga from Wednesday till Sunday. Shout out to Anthony Pepe, Mish, Amelia, and the rest of the Food Truck Festivals of America team. An amazing, amazing turnout to Tennessee Chattanooga on Saturday. You guys were awesome. How awesome were you? We opened at 11, a VIP 11 to 12. General admission from 12 to 6. At 4:25, we sold out of beer. Yes, at a Food Truck Festivals of America, food, craft beer, artisans, DJ. We even had a dog groomer there. She was booked solid the whole time. My point is, thank you. It was amazing. But I got up early doing my work just to see how ESPN was going to handle this. So at 7 a.m. they start. There's no reruns. This is their first take, no pun intended there, but their first live show on SportsCenter at 7 a.m. At 7:25, 25 minutes in, after the U.S. men's soccer team versus Mexico 5-1 win, they did a 30-second Shohei Ohtani update. And I was like, are you bleeping kidding me? So then I flipped it over to Craig Carton, degenerate, is gone to federal prison because of a Ponzi scam that he was trying to keep up with gambling debts. Everyone who doesn't know who Craig Carton is, please Google him. FAN, New York sports jock. Big time, was working with Boomer Esiason in the morning. Now he's back on Fox. He is now an advocate of responsible gambling. He talked about it at length. So he was talking about it where ESPN was hiding it. You know, ESPN will talk about LeBron till, you know, whatever, whoever their horses they'll talk about. But they did not say squadouche. Then the MLB finally came out and says there will now be an investigation. So again, that was my take on Shohei. I remember Michael Jordan. I remember David Stern pulling him aside and saying, hey, Mike, you got to do us a favor. The feds, the IRS are coming. You're the face of basketball. Do us a favor. Retire for a year. Go chase a baseball around. And then when the dust settles, we'll bring you back to the NBA. Okay. Now you got Shohei in the prime of his career with almost $1 billion contract, and the Dodgers sitting there with the checkbook saying, all right, how do we get out of this? But my whole big take on this is, if Shohei Ohtani at $4.5 million is there, how many million and billionaires are we going to release? Because Shohei isn't the only one working and betting in that book.
Right. Well, you said, how are the Dodgers going to navigate this? The MLB themselves, at a point where, their fan base is, the interest around baseball is, the marketing that they do is Shohei is their life support right now. If they were to even lose Shohei for any amount of time, the hit that would take to everything they've built. There's been so many things that, easy marketing tactics and whatnot that they've botched these last few years that just don't make any sense. That they could do better, and in a time where I think the league, from a popularity standpoint, with the youngest generation is going down. Losing Shohei for any amount of time or having him any type of suspension would be the worst possible thing for Major League Baseball in 25 years since and obviously since the steroid era, since fans were torn about the steroid era. That would be the worst thing to happen since that point.
100%, and good call there. And again, when I say Dodgers checkbook, what I'm meaning is, yes, MLB stuck right now. I think this interpreter is going to take the sword on this one. However it is, listen, it was all him. There was no baseball involved. Throw the book at him just so this goes away. I'd hate to see, if it gets real ugly, the MLB to step inside and say, hey, like the Trevor Bauer case, Trevor, you're on paid leave right now till we figure this out. And I don't want to see that. Dodger Stadium, they were saying there's going to be 55,000 per. Can you imagine a doubleheader? Which wouldn't happen this year. It would have been next year. Your doubleheading starting pitchers are Shohei Ohtani game 1 and Yamamoto game 2. There'd be a line around the building trying to get into there. So with baseball starting on Thursday again, I don't want to see I don't want to see him suspended, expelled, whatever the numbers. I have no information. I just hope this goes under the rug and we got some good live fun baseball on Thursday and the rest of this weekend and of course rest of this year.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm a little behind schedule with how much, with what I mean, I keep saying it. I don't want to keep hammering home the boo-hoo that is coming from the south side over here. But I'm a little behind on my prep for baseball. I've been getting geared up now. But if we had talked a couple weeks ago, I would have been a little clueless, not clueless, but you know what I mean. I would have been as prepared as I typically am at that point. But no, I'm interested to see what happens. Always an exciting time when baseball comes back around. So it'll be exciting on Thursday and Friday as we get some full slates of games to get us geared up for those evening March Madness games. But I'm excited for it. I am getting excited for it, I should say.
For the rest of the week, people, tomorrow again might be having an evening show, probably around 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock once I get back to this studio with Scott Webb. We're going to talk about his Webby odds. The games start on Thursday, so I think I'm going to bring him in back to his Tuesday nights, and we'll be talking some baseball with Scott Webb, former MLB player, live from Tampa. We'll get his breakdown, maybe some future plays, maybe a couple props, and his odds for Thursday, and we can break down the early lines on Tuesday for Thursday as well. Wednesday morning, don't have an exact time. I think probably 10:30 my time, 7:30 Pacific. I will put it on my timeline. Travis Geiger, CXO of Wager Wire, will be on here talking. We'll show a lot of his graphs. We'll talk about where some teams are that went to zero, where some teams are that were starting at zero that now are still in the Sweet 16 there. And then at 5 p.m., East Coast, 2 p.m. Pacific, Brady Kannon will be back talking PGA for the week there. And then unsure of Thursday and Friday. I know the kids will be back for 3 Men in a Box on Friday talking college baseball. Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk will be here at some point to talk some NHL as well. But we got a busy slate here this week and, of course, moving forward. So, Riley, as I always like to do, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts, my friend. I'll use this because I didn't want to give too much attention to the NBA slate, but I'll just kind of touch on what the situation it almost seems like on this board as a whole, Jeff, because we talked about all weekend long, especially the last 2 days, of how successful these favorites were in college basketball. And unless you've been locked in a bunker and you've been all NBA and you've been shielding your eyes from college basketball and you're well equipped with what's going on in the NBA, which I imagine the average person is not. I imagine you've taken an entire week off of paying attention to the NBA whatsoever. And if you're a big favorite bettor, you went through this past weekend and now you're loaded. Your pockets are filled coming into Monday, and you've got an entire slate of NBA games that are some of the biggest lines collectively that I've seen all season long. I mean, you've got a Bulls team, and I'm not saying none of these teams can't cover. That's not what I'm saying. But you've got a Bulls team who I think their biggest spread to this point in the season was 10 at home against the Pistons. They're 12.5-point favorites against the Wizards. Cleveland's 11.5. Brooklyn is 6.5 against a team in Toronto that's lost 10 in a row, but still at Toronto. New York is 17-point favorites. Boston's 11-point favorites on the road. No Trae Young, but still on the road there. Houston 13.5. Phoenix 12. Dallas is 7.5 on the road in Utah. Denver 14.5. Sacramento 8.5 against the Embiidless Philly team. The only one that doesn't seem crazy inflated is this Clippers at home against the Pacers on the late end 5.5-point spread. All of these other ones, again, I'm not saying some of these teams can't take care of business, but if you've been a favorite bettor all weekend long and you're looking at throwing some more money down on favorites in the NBA tonight, just beware a little bit and understand that some of these lines are probably a little bit inflated. Like I said, can they take care of business? Absolutely. The Bulls were 9.5-point favorites, I think, at home against the Wizards a week or so ago, and they handled business. Now they're seeing them again in town again as 12.5-point favorites, biggest spread that the Bulls have had, just to give you an example, all season long. So just a handful of inflated spreads in the NBA tonight that I can't tell you a single one that I would take the dog in necessarily, but as a whole, I'd be willing to say that the favorites might not be eaten as much in the NBA tonight.
Two games in the NHL. Vegas opened at 165, now 149. The Blues you can catch at 129, an over-under of 6, over minus 13 cents. 60% of the bets, 60% of the money coming in on Vegas. The line moving in the right way. Got no real feel. If you needed to scratch an itch there, maybe the Vegas team total to get to 4. You can get some good plus money there. And this one, I have a tad, just a little interest here. LA Kings travel to Vancouver. LA opened at 135. Vancouver opened up minus 135. Now down to minus 124. I'm seeing 61% of the bets, 58% of the money still coming in on Vancouver, yet the line's going in the wrong direction. Back in the day, I'd call this reverse line movement. More bets, more money coming in Vancouver, but the line's going the wrong way. Keep an eye on the Kings tonight. You can get them right now at around plus 115 at Vancouver. And if you're feeling real froggy there, you want to scratch an itch, take a look at the LA Kings team total to get to 4 or better, over 3.5, and get some good plus money there. So again, big shout out to everyone watching. Huge crowd here. Again, thank you. Without you guys, there's no me, there's no Riley. Jump on over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Thank you to WagerWire. Thank you to their community. I did tell Riley this. Any of the WagerWire community that is listening, Amber, Caro, any of those, go see Riley at Riley_Magnson, the one. Set him up for a little Twitter Spaces like you've done to me. He's willing and able, and the rest will be history. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at East Coast Sports Investors, the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed evening. Have some fun tonight. Real short menu. Basically, get yourself freshened up and ready for the rest of the week. And we will see you soon.